Assalamu alaikum. Hello, ChatGPT. My name is Shahzad Ahmed. I am student of Rehan Teacher Training AI Institute. My batch number is 19. Today we are starting our discussion with ChatGPT on the topic of how identify and avoid toxic positivity. Let's begin our questions. Hello, GPT. Are you listening me?
Assalamu alaikum, Shahzad. Yes, I'm listening and I'm all set to dive into the topic. We can definitely explore how to identify and avoid toxic positivity together. So feel free to ask your first question whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's start. What is toxic positivity in simple word?
Absolutely. Let's break it down simply. So toxic positivity basically means always trying to be positive and ignoring any negative feelings or difficult emotions. In other words, it's like forcing yourself or others to always look on the bright side, even when it's more honest or healthier to admit that things are tough.
Okay. Uh, why do people call it toxic?
That's a good question. People call it toxic because even though positivity is generally a good thing, when it's taken to an extreme, it can actually make someone feel like their real emotions are being dismissed or invalidated. In other words, if you're always told to just stay positive, it can feel like you're not allowed to talk about or process the real struggles you're having. So that kind of forced positivity can actually be harmful, which is why they call it toxic.
Okay. Is being positive always good? Why or why not?
That's a great thing to think about. Being positive definitely has its benefits, but it's not always good in every single situation. Sometimes it's important to acknowledge when things are tough or to let yourself or others feel sad, frustrated, or just human. If we only focus on being positive all the time, we might ignore real problems or not deal with our true feelings, which can be unhelpful.
Okay, next question is how is toxic positivity different from healthy positivity?
Absolutely. That's an important distinction. So, healthy positivity is when you stay hopeful and look for the good side of things, but still acknowledge the reality of tough situations. It means you can say, yes, this is hard, but I'm going to do my best to get through it. On the other hand, toxic positivity is when you ignore or shut down any negative emotions and just say things like, you should never feel bad or just be positive no matter what. So the difference is that healthy positivity leaves room for real feelings, while toxic positivity tries to push them away.
Okay. Can toxic positivity hurt of our feeling? Hurt our feeling.
Yes, absolutely. Toxic positivity can hurt our feelings because it can make us feel like our real emotions don't matter or aren't valid. When we're told to always look on the bright side and ignore any struggles, it can feel like we're not being heard or understood. And over time, that can make it harder for us to process or share what we really feel. So it's definitely healthier to allow space for all emotions instead of just pushing the tough ones away.
Okay. What are some common sensitivities of toxic positivity?
Yeah, let's talk about some signs. So, common signs of toxic positivity might be things like people always saying, just stay positive, no matter what, or telling you to never talk about your worries. Another sign is if someone is dismissing your genuine concerns with overly cheerful or simple phrases like good vibes only. Basically, if you notice that negative or complicated feelings are always being shut down or swept under the rug in favor of forced positivity, that's a pretty clear sign.
Okay. What are some common sorry, next, why saying just be happy can be harmful?
Sure. So saying something like just be happy can be harmful because it oversimplifies what someone is feeling. When a person is struggling or going through something tough, just telling them to be happy kind of ignores what they're really experiencing. It can make them feel like their feelings aren't being taken seriously or that they're doing something wrong by feeling down. In reality, it's much kinder to let people know that it's okay to feel however they feel and that they don't have to put on a happy face all the time.
Okay. Is saying everything happiness for a reason always helpful?
Yeah, that's a great one to consider. So, saying everything happens for a reason can sometimes be comforting, but it's not always helpful in every situation. For some people, it can feel like their pain or struggle is being minimized. Not everyone finds it comforting to hear that there's some mysterious reason behind the difficulties. In fact, it can sometimes make them feel like their feelings really big thing to say if someone just needs a bit of empathy and understanding.
Okay. Can I happen at the workplace?
Yeah, absolutely. Toxic positivity can definitely happen in the workplace as well. For example, in some work environments, there might be this unspoken pressure to always be cheerful or to never admit when you're stressed or overwhelmed. That can lead to people feeling like they have to hide their real feelings just to fit in or keep things looking positive. So it's definitely something that can show up in workplaces, and it's helpful to create a culture where people feel safe to share their real experiences.
Okay. How can we know we positivity become toxic?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One way to know if our positivity is becoming toxic is to notice whether we're leaving room for all kinds of feelings. If we find ourselves or others always shutting down any negative emotions or feeling guilty for not being cheerful, that's a sign. Another clue is if we notice we're using positivity to avoid real conversations or to skip addressing genuine problems. In other words, if positivity is stopping us from really listening or being honest about challenges, then it might be tipping over into the toxic zone.
Okay. What signs show that someone is ignoring real emotions?
Yeah, so some signs that someone might be ignoring real emotions can include things like always brushing off any serious feelings with a quick positive comment or changing the subject whenever something emotional comes up. They might also use a lot of cliches like just think positive or it could be worse without really listening. Another sign is if they seem uncomfortable whenever deeper feelings come up, or they try to quickly cheer people up instead of letting them express what they're really feeling. So basically, if someone is always dodging real emotions in favor of a quick dose of positivity, that's a pretty good hint.
Okay. Is toxic when we hide our sadness?
Yeah, it can be. When we hide our sadness all the time and never let ourselves acknowledge it, it can kind of build up and make us feel worse in the long run. So it's not that we have to share our sadness with everyone all the time, but it is healthy to give ourselves permission to feel it and maybe share it with someone we trust. If we keep hiding those feelings and pretending everything is fine, that's when positivity can become toxic and stop us from dealing with our real emotions. So it's definitely okay to let yourself feel sad sometimes.
How do feel? How do we feel when our pain is not accepted?
Yeah, so when our pain isn't accepted, it can make us feel pretty isolated or misunderstood. It's like we're not being fully seen or heard, and that can be really tough. It might feel like we have to put on a mask or pretend to be okay, which can be exhausting. So overall, it can make us feel pretty alone or even like our feelings don't matter. That's why it's really important to have spaces where we can share what we're actually feeling and feel accepted for it.
Can social media increase toxic positivity?
Always show the best parts of our lives, and that can make it seem like everyone is always happy or positive. When we see that, we might feel like we have to do the same, and that can lead to hiding our real emotions or feeling like we have to be positive all the time. So, yeah, social media can definitely add to that kind of toxic positivity culture if we're not careful.
Okay. How does toxic positivity affect mental health?
Yeah, so toxic positivity can definitely have an impact on mental health. When we feel like we have to be positive all the time and we can't express our real emotions, it can lead to feelings of stress. anxiety, or even loneliness. We might start to feel like our feelings aren't valid or that we're doing something wrong if we're not always cheerful. Over time, that can really weigh on our mental well-being because it stops us from processing our emotions in a healthy way. So really giving ourselves permission to feel all our emotions can actually support better mental health in the long run.
Okay. Can it increase stress or anxiety?
Yeah, absolutely. Toxic positivity can definitely add to stress or anxiety because if we feel like we always have to be positive and we can't show any other emotions, it just puts a lot of pressure on us. We might worry about not being positive enough or feel anxious about having to hide how we really feel. And over time, that can really build up. So being able to express a full range of emotions actually helps reduce stress and anxiety instead of adding to it.
Okay. Does it stop people from sharing real problems?
Yeah, it often does. When there's this atmosphere of toxic positivity, people might hold back from sharing their real problems because they feel like they won't be taken seriously or they might be judged for not being positive enough. So yeah, it can definitely make people feel like they have to keep their real struggles to themselves. And that means they might not get the support they need. So it's really important to have spaces where people can share honestly and feel heard.
Okay. Can it damage relationship?
Yeah, it definitely can. When there's a lot of toxic positivity in a relationship, it can create distance because people might feel like they can't really be themselves or share what they're actually going through. If one person is always trying to keep things positive and never really listens to the other person's struggles, it can make the other person feel unheard or unsupported. And over time, that can weaken the trust and connection in the relationship. So, yeah, being able to share honestly and have a full range of emotions is really important for strong relationships.
Okay. Why is it important to accept negative emotions?
Yeah, so it's important to accept negative emotions because they're a natural part of being human. When we let ourselves feel all of our emotions, we can process them and actually work through them more effectively. If we ignore or push away negative emotions, they tend to just stick around under the surface and can cause more stress in the long run. So accepting them helps us to be more balanced and resilient. It also means we can be more genuine and authentic with ourselves and with others.
How can we avoid toxic positivity in daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one way to avoid toxic positivity is to let yourself and others feel a full range of emotions. That means giving yourself permission to feel whatever you feel without judging it. You can also create an environment where it's okay to talk about things that are tough and really listen when someone shares their struggles. And of course, it's all about balance, right? So you can still be positive, but also be real and honest. In other words, just allow space for all feelings, and that helps keep things genuine and supportive.
Okay. What should we say interested to toxic positivity lines?
Yeah, so instead of using those kind of toxic positivity lines like just be happy or everything happens for a reason, you could say things that acknowledge the other person's feelings. For example, you could say something like, it's okay to feel that way, or I'm here to listen if you want to talk about it. Basically, anything that shows you're validating their feelings and offering support can make a big difference. So it's really about being understanding and letting people know that it's okay to feel whatever they're feeling.
Okay. What is one simple habit to partic healthy positivity?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one simple habit to practice healthy positivity is just to regularly check in with yourself and acknowledge how you're really feeling. And when you do that, you can remind yourself that it's okay to have both positive and negative feelings.
Okay.
Another habit is to practice listening to others without trying to fix their feelings right away, just offering them a space to share. So, really, it's all about allowing a balance and not feeling like you have to push away the tough emotions.
Okay, ChatGPT, thank you very much. My question is end. Our time is over. Next topic, I will again to this next. Okay, bye. Allah Hafiz.